I died 3 years ago. At least, I should have. I felt the venom burning through my veins. I counted 12 snake bites, maybe more. My vision went black. My lungs stopped pulling air. And in that final moment, as my body shut down in a pit where no one would ever find me, I saw something that shouldn't exist. Someone who defied every law of nature appeared in blinding light, spoke one word, and froze time itself. What I'm about to tell you will sound impossible. My own family thinks I'm insane. Doctors have no explanation for how I'm still breathing. But I have proof. Scars on my body that shouldn't exist. Memories so vivid they wake me up screaming, and a life that was given back to me when it was already gone. Before I reveal what happened in that pit, before I show you the evidence that changed everything, I need to ask you something. If you stay with me through this story, if you hear what I witnessed with my own eyes, your understanding of reality might never be the same. Some of you will close this video thinking I've lost my mind. Others will recognize the truth that authorities don't want you to know, that miracles still happen, that the supernatural is breaking through into our world, that ancient powers are more real than the phone in your hand. This is not a fairy tale. This is my testimony. And if you want to see the proof, if you want to know what really happens when someone calls on Jesus Christ with their dying breath, then don't go anywhere. Subscribe to this channel right now, because what I'm about to share could save your life or the life of someone you love. Share this video before it gets taken down. The forces that tried to silence me once are still watching, but I won't be quiet. Not about this. Not about what he did for me. My name is Princess Samantha, and I should not be alive right now. According to every law of nature, every medical principle, every reasonable expectation, I should have perished 3 years ago in a pit beneath my family's palace. But I'm sitting here today, breathing, speaking, living, because something impossible happened. Someone impossible appeared, and nothing has been the same since. I'm going to tell you about the night I was sentenced to execution by my own blood, thrown into a pit with the most venomous creatures in our region, bitten multiple times as poison flooded my veins, my body shutting down, my vision fading, certain I was taking my last breaths. And then, in that moment of absolute darkness and despair, in that place where no human could reach me, where hope itself seemed to have abandoned me, Jesus Christ appeared in blinding light and spoke one word that stopped everything. The snakes froze mid-strike. Time itself seemed to pause, and I witnessed a miracle that defies explanation but demands to be told. Before I take you into that pit, before I describe every impossible detail of what I saw and experienced, I need you to understand something. This testimony is not just my story. It's an invitation to believe that the supernatural is real, that miracles still happen, that God sees us even in the darkest pits we find ourselves in. And if this story stirs something deep in your soul, if it awakens a hunger for the divine, or plants a seed of hope in barren ground, then I'm asking you to subscribe to this channel. Share this testimony. Let it reach people who are in their own pits right now, who need to know that rescue is possible, that God still moves, that no situation is beyond his reach. Your subscription, your share, your willingness to believe, it all matters. It all helps spread light into darkness. Please, join me in this mission. Now let me take you back to the beginning, to the series of choices and circumstances that led me to that pit, so you can understand the full weight of what God did for me. I was born Princess Samantha, third daughter of a Saudi prince, raised in wealth that most people cannot fathom. Golden palaces, servants attending to every need, private jets, jewels worth fortunes. From the outside, my life looked like a fairy tale. But fairy tales don't show you what happens behind closed doors, in the corridors of power where women are currency and freedom is a forbidden dream. I was 24 years old when my father informed me that I would marry Prince Rashid, a man I had met exactly twice, a man whose eyes held a coldness that made my blood run cold, a man about whom whispers circulated among the servants, whispers of cruelty, of violence, of his first wife who had mysteriously passed away. I begged my father to reconsider. I pleaded. I wept. I promised anything if he would just release me from this arrangement. His response was ice. Your feelings are irrelevant. This marriage secures an important alliance. You will obey, or you will face consequences beyond your imagination. I felt trapped, suffocated, desperate. And in that desperation, I did something that would change everything. I started exploring faith beyond what I had been taught. I had always performed the rituals of Islam because it was expected, required, part of my identity. But I had never felt anything real, anything alive, anything that touched the emptiness inside me. Through my volunteer work at a charity, I met Sarah, a Christian woman who worked with orphans. There was something different about her, a peace that didn't make sense given the difficult circumstances she worked in. A joy that seemed to come from a source beyond herself, a love that was patient and kind and never seemed to run dry. Where does your peace come from? I asked her one day. How do you stay so calm, so joyful when you see so much suffering? She smiled at me with such gentleness. Jesus, she said simply. He is my peace. He is my joy. He is my source. I didn't understand what she meant, but I was curious. She gave me a Bible, disguised in the cover of another book, and I began reading it in secret at night. The words I found there were unlike anything I had encountered before. They spoke of a God who loved personally, who knew individuals by name, who cared about the inner heart, not just the outer performance. They spoke of Jesus who claimed to be the way, the truth, the life, who said he came to set captives free. I felt captive, and I began to wonder if this Jesus could free me. I started praying differently. Not the ritual prayers I had memorized, but honest, desperate conversations. Jesus, if you're real, if you're who this book says you are, please help me. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm drowning. Please, show me you're there. As the wedding date approached, I became more desperate. I couldn't go through with it. I couldn't marry Rashid. I would rather face any consequence than spend my life with that man. So I made a plan to escape. Sarah helped me arrange false documents, contacts in another country, a way to start over far from the palace and its suffocating control. We planned it carefully, choosing a night when security would be lighter, when I could slip away unnoticed. But someone betrayed us. To this day, I don't know who, but someone told my family about the plan. The night I was supposed to escape, I walked into my private chambers and found them filled with guards. My heart sank. I knew immediately what had happened. They seized me roughly, dragging me through corridors I had never seen before, deeper into the palace, into sections that felt ancient and forgotten. My father wouldn't look at me. My mother wept silently, but said nothing in my defense. It was my eldest brother who pronounced judgment. You have betrayed this family, he said, his voice shaking with rage. You attempted to flee your duty, to destroy an alliance we worked months to establish. You have been corrupted by Christian influence, reading their forbidden texts, speaking with their missionaries. You are no longer my sister. You are no longer part of this family. Please, I begged. I'll do anything. I'll marry Rashid. I'll never speak to Sarah again. I'll burn the Bible. Just please give me another chance. But his face was stone. It's too late. You've made your choice. Now you face the consequences. They forced me to drink something bitter. Within minutes, the room began to spin. I felt myself falling, darkness closing in. When I woke, I was lying on cold stone in absolute darkness. My head throbbed. My mouth was dry. And I could hear something moving in the darkness around me. Something that made a sound that triggered every primal fear instinct in my body. Hissing. The unmistakable hissing of snakes. As my eyes slowly adjusted, I began to see shapes moving in the dim light filtering from somewhere above. Cobras. Dozens of them. Their hoods spread in threat displays, their bodies thick and powerful, coiling and uncoiling, filling the space around me. Some were as long as I was tall. Their scales caught what little light there was, making them seem to shimmer like deadly jewels. I tried to stand, but my legs wouldn't support me. The drug was still affecting me, making my movements clumsy and uncoordinated. I pressed myself against the wall, trying to make myself small, trying to keep still, knowing that movement would trigger their attack instincts. Above me, I heard a sound and looked up to see a grate. Through it, I could see my brother looking down at me. "This is an ancient punishment," his voice echoed down into the pit. "Reserved for those who betray the family. The cobras will strike. Their venom will cause unimaginable suffering before the end comes. It will take hours, and when it's over, we will seal this pit forever. No one will ever know what happened to Princess Samantha. She simply disappeared. Perhaps she ran away, as she planned. Goodbye, sister." The grate slammed shut. I heard a lock engage, and I was alone with the serpents in the darkness. I want you to understand the terror of that moment. Trapped in a pit with no escape, surrounded by creatures designed to eliminate threats, knowing that any movement could trigger an attack, knowing that once they struck, the venom would cause excruciating pain as it shut down my nervous system, paralyzed my muscles, stopped my breathing. Knowing I would be conscious through most of it, aware as my body failed system by system. I started to cry. Not quiet tears, but deep, wrenching sobs that shook my whole body. And the movement attracted them. I saw several cobras turn toward me, their tongues flicking, tasting the air, sensing my fear, my warmth, my presence. The first strike came so fast I barely saw it. A cobra lunged forward and its fangs sank into my ankle. The pain was immediate and intense, like twin nails of fire being driven into my flesh. I screamed, and the sound echoed off the stone walls. My scream triggered more attacks. Another snake struck my calf. Another got my hand when I tried to push myself away. Another struck my shoulder. The venom began to work immediately. I felt it spreading from each bite site, a burning sensation that moved through my veins like liquid fire. My heart began racing, trying to circulate blood that was now carrying poison to every part of my body. Sweat poured from my skin. My vision started to blur. My breathing became labored, each breath more difficult than the last. More strikes came. I had stopped trying to avoid them. There was no point. They were all around me. I felt fangs pierce my leg again, my arm, my back. How many times had I been bitten? 5? 10? I couldn't count anymore. The pain was becoming overwhelming, drowning out rational thought. I knew what was happening. The venom was attacking my nervous system, interfering with the signals between my brain and my muscles. Soon I wouldn't be able to move at all. Then my diaphragm would be paralyzed, and I wouldn't be able to breathe. I would suffocate while still conscious, aware of everything until my brain finally shut down from lack of oxygen. I was going to pass away here, alone, in darkness, in agony, and no one would ever know what happened to me. In that moment of absolute despair, I did the only thing I could think of. I called out to Jesus. The Jesus I had been reading about. The Jesus who Sarah said could save anyone, anywhere, anytime. Jesus, I gasped, each word an effort as the venom made my throat tighten. Jesus, if you're real, if you can hear me, please help me. I'm dying. I'm so afraid. Please, Jesus, please. I kept saying his name, over and over, like a prayer, like a lifeline. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. My vision was fading now. I could barely see the serpents around me anymore. Everything was becoming gray and distant. My heart was beating irregularly, struggling. I could feel my body shutting down, organ by organ, system by system. Jesus, I whispered one more time, and I didn't know if I even made a sound or if it was just in my mind. Jesus. And then everything changed. Light appeared. Not the dim light from above, but a brilliant, pure, living light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It started small, like a candle flame, but it grew rapidly, expanding until it filled the entire pit with radiance so bright I should have been blinded. But somehow it didn't hurt my eyes. In that light, a figure began to materialize. At first, it was just a shape, a silhouette against the brightness. But as it became more solid, more defined, I saw him clearly. A man dressed in robes of pure white that seemed to be woven from light itself. His face was beautiful beyond any human beauty I had ever seen, filled with such compassion and such authority that I couldn't look away. His eyes, when they met mine, saw everything about me, every secret, every sin, every moment of my life, and yet they held no judgment, only pure love. I knew him. I don't know how, but I knew him with absolute certainty. This was Jesus Christ, the one I had been reading about, the one I had been praying to, the one who had just descended into a pit beneath a Saudi palace to rescue a Muslim princess who barely knew his name, and everything else had stopped. The serpents that had been striking at me moments before were completely frozen. Some had their mouths open, fangs extended, caught mid-strike. Others were coiled, ready to lunge but not moving. They looked like statues, like sculptures of snakes rather than living creatures. Not a single scale moved. Not a tongue flicked. They were completely, utterly still. Time itself seemed to have stopped for everything except me and him. "Samantha," he said, and his voice was like nothing I had ever heard. It was warm like summer sun, powerful like thunder, gentle like a whisper, all at once. It resonated not just in my ears, but in my chest, in my bones, in the deepest part of my being. "Lord," I breathed, and I didn't know where the word came from. I had never called anyone Lord before, but it felt right. It felt true. He moved closer, and as he did, the serpents remained frozen in place. He walked right past them, right through their midst, and they couldn't move, couldn't strike, couldn't do anything. He knelt beside me, and I saw his hands, scarred, marked with old wounds that looked like they had been made by large nails. "You called my name," he said, and he smiled at me with such tenderness that tears began streaming down my face. "I heard you. I always hear when my children call out to me in faith. I'm dying," I whispered. "The venom, it's everywhere. I can feel it. My body is shutting down." "I know," he said gently. He placed one of those scarred hands on my head, and warmth flooded through me. Not physical warmth exactly, but something deeper, something that touched my very essence. "But you are not beyond my reach. Nothing is beyond my power, Samantha. Not venom, not death, not anything." I felt something changing inside me. The burning sensation from the venom began to fade. The pressure in my chest eased. My vision started to clear. My heart rate steadied. It was as if the poison was being drawn out of my system, extracted from every cell, every tissue, every drop of blood. "What are you doing?" I asked in wonder. "Healing you," he said simply. "You were dying, but I am the resurrection and the life. Death has no power in my presence." I looked at my ankle where the first snake had bitten me. The puncture wounds were closing as I watched. The swelling was going down. Within seconds, there was barely a mark to show I had been bitten at all. I looked at my other bites, my hand, my leg, my arm, my shoulder. All of them were healing right before my eyes. "This is impossible," I whispered. "With humans, yes. he agreed, but not with God. I created your body, Samantha. I know every cell, every molecule, every system. Reversing venom damage is simple for the one who designed the human form in the first place. Why? I asked, tears still flowing. Why would you save me? I'm nobody. I'm not even really a believer. I've only been reading about you for a few weeks. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you coming here for me. His expression became even more tender. Samantha, my love isn't earned. It's given freely to all who call on me with sincere hearts. You cried out to me in your darkest moment, and I answered. That's what I do. That's who I am. I am the good shepherd who leaves the 99 to rescue the one who is lost. But I was Muslim, I said. I was raised to believe you were just a prophet, not the Son of God. I was taught that believing you are divine is the worst sin. And yet here you are saying you're God himself. I am, he said without hesitation. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the Word made flesh. I am God who became human to rescue humanity. Your religion taught you one thing, but I am showing you the truth. Not to condemn you for what you believed before, but to reveal myself to you now. Truth is a person, Samantha. Truth is me. And I have come to set you free. Free from what? I asked. From everything that binds you, he replied. From fear, from control, from the power of sin and death, from the expectations and rules that have trapped you your whole life. I came to give you abundant life, not just survival, but true, full, vibrant life. And that begins with knowing me. I looked around the pit at the frozen serpents, at the impossible miracle surrounding us. What happens now? Even if you heal me, I'm still trapped in this pit. My family thinks I'm dying down here. If I somehow survive, they'll just try again. Jesus smiled. Do you think a locked pit can contain someone I have chosen to free? Watch. He stood and walked to the wall of the pit. He simply placed his palm against the stone, and I heard a deep rumbling sound. Cracks appeared in the wall, spreading outward from where his hand rested. Then an entire section of the wall crumbled away, not violently but gently, revealing a tunnel behind it. This passage leads out, he said. Follow it, and you will emerge far from the palace. There you will find your friend Sarah. She is praying for you right now. She has been praying all night. Go to her. She will help you. But my family, I said. They'll hunt me. They'll find me. They have power, resources, connections everywhere. I am more powerful than all of them combined, Jesus said, and there was absolute authority in his voice. Trust me, Samantha. I didn't save you from serpents just to let human enemies destroy you. I will protect you. I will guide you. I will provide for you. All you need to do is follow me. I will, I said. I don't know what that means exactly or what you're asking of me, but I will. I'll follow you, Jesus. Anywhere. He reached down and helped me to my feet. I stood, and I realized I felt completely normal. No pain, no weakness, no lingering effects from the venom at all. It was as if I had never been bitten. One more thing, Jesus said. He looked at me with an intensity that made me feel like he was seeing not just who I was, but who I could become. Your life from this moment is not your own. You have been bought with a price, rescued from death, saved for a purpose. I want you to tell others what happened here. Tell them about this moment. Tell them that I am real, that I still perform miracles, that I still rescue those who call on my name. Will you do this for me? Yes, I said without hesitation. I'll tell everyone. I'll tell the world if you want me to. He smiled again. Good. Now go. Your new life begins now. He began to fade then, the light dimming, his form becoming translucent. But his voice echoed clearly. "I am with you always, Samantha. Remember that. When you feel alone, speak my name. When you face trouble, call on me. When you doubt, remember this moment. I will never leave you. I will never abandon you. You are mine now, and nothing can snatch you from my hand." Then he was gone. The brilliant light faded back to the dim illumination from above, but the tunnel in the wall remained, a physical impossibility that was nevertheless completely real. And the serpents, released from their supernatural freeze, began to move again, but sluggishly, as if disoriented. I didn't wait. I ran into that tunnel, my bare feet on cold stone, running toward freedom, toward light, toward the new life Jesus had promised me. The tunnel wound through ancient foundations, through passages that must have been hundreds of years old, unused and forgotten. I ran for what felt like miles, my breath coming in gasps not from exhaustion but from adrenaline and wonder and overwhelming emotion. Finally, I saw light ahead. Real light. Sunlight. I emerged in a garden on the far side of the palace grounds, far from where guards normally patrolled, in a section that looked abandoned and overgrown. I ran through the pre-dawn streets of the city, heading toward Sarah's house. I pounded on her door just as the sun was beginning to rise. She opened it, her face shocked, her eyes red from crying. "Samantha," she gasped. "I thought... They said you were... How are you here?" I fell into her arms, sobbing, and I told her everything. About the pit, about the serpents, about the bites, about Jesus appearing in blinding light, about him healing me completely, about the wall opening, about his words to me. Sarah wept with me, holding me, thanking Jesus over and over. "I knew he would save you," she kept saying. "I knew he wouldn't leave you there. I've been praying all night. I've been begging him to rescue you." Within hours, Sarah had contacted her network, people who helped persecuted Christians and others fleeing dangerous situations. They moved me from safe house to safe house, keeping me hidden while they arranged documents and passage out of the country. 3 days later, I crossed the border. 1 week later, I was in Europe. 2 weeks later, I was granted asylum based on the evidence of persecution and the danger I faced if returned. That was 3 years ago. 3 years of building a new life from nothing. 3 years of learning what it means to follow Jesus, to trust him, to let him transform me from the inside out. 3 years of telling my story to anyone who will listen. My family declared me deceased officially. They held a memorial service. They told everyone I had passed away in an unfortunate accident. It was easier for them than admitting I had escaped. And I've let them believe I'm gone. It's safer that way. They can't hunt someone they think is already beyond this life. But I'm very much alive. More alive than I've ever been, actually. Because what Jesus told me was true. He didn't just save my physical life. He gave me spiritual life, abundant life, life with meaning and purpose and joy that doesn't depend on circumstances. I work now with an organization that helps women escape dangerous situations. I share my testimony at churches, conferences, anywhere people will listen. I've seen dozens of people come to faith in Jesus after hearing what he did for me. And that, I believe, is why he saved me. Not just for my sake, but so that through my story, others might know him too. I still have faint scars from some of the bites. The doctors I saw later couldn't believe I had survived. Multiple cobra bites should have ended my life within an hour. The amount of venom that entered my system should have been fatal several times over. They had no medical explanation for my survival. But I know the explanation. His name is Jesus. And he is not bound by medical limitations or natural laws. He is the creator who can override his own creation whenever he chooses. And that night, in that pit, He chose to override every natural law to save one desperate princess who barely knew his name. If you're watching this and you're in your own pit right now, whatever form that pit takes, I want you to know that Jesus can reach you there. No pit is too deep. No situation is too hopeless. No person is too far gone. Call on him like I did. Cry out his name with everything in you. And watch what he does. I'm not promising he'll appear in visible form. That's rare. I don't know why he chose to show himself to me that way, but I promise he will answer. Maybe through circumstances changing, maybe through strength you didn't know you had, maybe through people he sends to help you, but he will answer those who genuinely seek him. Subscribe to this channel if you want to hear more testimonies of God's supernatural intervention. Share this video with anyone who needs to know that miracles still happen. And most importantly, if you're in a pit, call on Jesus right now. Don't wait. He's listening. He's ready. He's able to save. Thank you for listening to my testimony. Thank you for believing, or at least for being open to believing. And remember, no situation is beyond God's reach. No person is beyond his love. No pit is too deep for his light to penetrate. Jesus saves. I'm living proof.